Good evening. Well, hello, good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. I'm Menasong, a lewd, DJ, author, and professional multiverse wizard specializing in world building and Waifusmith. Now floating by my shoulder is Grammary, a succubus who's always open to gamer accolades. The making session is for after the stream because right now it's time for some reading. Today we'll be reading The Prince by Niccolò Machiavelli. And hello, Thornkite. Hi, the prince himself, Menasong. Oh, thank you. That's the first time someone called me a prince, but I will not say no to that. I do appreciate that type of compliment myself. It does feel very fitting for someone like me, for some of my refined qualities and whatever word. Words are hard, you know. Also, you should words. My brain is melting. Bark, bark. Yes. Perhaps I should actually bark. It would be better than losing myself. What was I gonna say? Yes, we gentlemen, you like people like you and me, Tornkind. Yes, we are like what do you say? A bit of a prince archetype, indeed. I do believe. Does it close down if I do this? No. I do believe we do fit the prince archetype ourselves because of our youthful, gentlemanly ways. But anyway, let me think about. Should I actually just start? Oh yes, there's music. Indeed, we're gentle sirs. Indeed, we're not exactly gentlemen like a old mature gentlemen. We have our youthful auras that even though we grow old, we still have a youthful a youthful a youthful princely spirit. Now, actually, let me start this soundtrack. Let me take a look into the sound levels. No, it should be lower, I think. Yes. Have a good read. Make sure to have enough water and or tea. Oh, yes, actually, since I'm gonna be reading so much, maybe I should bring some water. I don't usually drink anything, but we'll see. There's gonna be a ad break, of course, ad break, so we'll see how it goes. If the audio of the music is too low or too high, you can actually tell me because I did not prepare this too much beforehand. Now that I'm thinking about it, the sound, I monitor my sound levels on OBS. But I think this should be lower for the stream. Yes, I think the sound should be lower than the usual. I think this is kind of nice, a nice ambience, along with the ring sounds. Oh, I muted it completely. Nope. Okay, it's actually I actually can't alter the sound. Okay. With more granularity. Everything's already like a 5-10% audio level, so increasing it more precisely. We can hear a dog in the background, but it's cute. Oh, it's probably it's neighbor's dog actually. It's not mine. Unfortunately, this is not the sort of thing I can actually deal with. We do have a lot of dogs. If it was my dog, it would be a lot louder though. I could barely hear with my headset on. That's kind of unfortunate. I even have a dynamic mic, the one that's supposed to be dealing with the one that should be dealing with better for dealing with sound effect, with the noise and things like that. Also a noise filter, but it's not enough. It is not enough. Hang on, let me do something. And look at my stuff over here. Because this is such a chill stream, I can do a little. It's not disrupted though, so it should be fine. Yeah, indeed, it should be fine. There is a. Let me quickly mute it so I can do something over here. Since I'm not playing a game, there's a few things that I can do that might be interesting. I just want to keep some other people's streams online on side of my monitor because it seems like a funny thing to do. Who am I going to open again? Who else? Who else? Where are you? I have too many follows over here. Oh, you. Okay, there you go. It actually feels nice because I can keep I'm keeping. Let me turn on the audio again. Okay. I'm keeping I have a lot of free space. My monitor is big and though. So I have a space to keep a stream on the side. Just a little distractor. A little distraction in case the text becomes a little bit too boring for me because I need stimulation, you know. I'm not I'm not used to only reading like this on the computer at least. I did read a lot of books, but just having the book open feels like a lot of feels like there's a lot of empty space I could be using. But anyway, just a side thing that I want to do. Let's start actually with the book now. The Prince Niccolò Machiavelli, translated with an introduction by Harvey C. Mansfield, second edition. I did a quick research, and this guy seems to have a few interesting side notes from the translation, which help understand the context. Because Niccolò Machiavelli, he references his previous works, and since we haven't read any of that, it's good to have these little notes to help understand what's going on. This is not interesting. Introduction. Let's start out. Anyone who picks up Machiavelli's The Prince holds in his hands the most famous book on politics ever written. Yes, indeed. I am. I've been interested in studying politics so I can improve this part of my writing, because the story is starting to become a little bit more political. At least this arc is going to be more political. So what's the most famous political book ever written? The Prince. That is my answer. Hello, Spike. Please, thank you for the stompies. I do enjoy a little bit of a get pregnant. Did I actually put that emote there? Jesus Christ, I don't even know what that emote is anymore. Oh no, it's a plap plap plap. Oh, thank you. There we go. Thank you for the ties. Thank you for the stompies. We do need a little bit, since we're all appreciator gentlemen over here. We do need a little bit of that. Yes, more stompies now with Marine instead of Phantom. Since we're all gentlemen over here, we do enjoy that sort of a little stimulation over here. That is always welcome. Always politics books ever written. Its closest rival might be Plato's Republic. Ooh, I think I actually looking respectfully. We don't need to actually look respectfully over here. We know what's going on. We know what's going on. Let me add this book to my list. Wrong key. Plato's. What's it called? Republic. Yes. Let's add this book. Let's add this book to the list for us to read. Maybe one day I am making a small list of books that might be interesting to read on stream. Anyway, Plato's Republic. But that book discusses politics in the context of things above politics, and politics turn out to have a limited and subordinate place. That book discusses politics in the context of things above politics. Huh. Metapolitics? Politics of politics. Not sure I can actually imagine in practice how that works. Joe? What Joe? The Prince? Oh, wait. About politics. And politics turn out to have a... Can you see my mouse? Yes, you guys can see my mouse. Turn out to have a limited and subordinate place. Huh? Okay. In The Prince, Machiavelli also discusses politics in relation to things outside politics, as we shall see, but his conclusion is very different. Politics, according to him, is not limited by things above it, and things normally taken to be outside politics, the givens in any political situation, turn out to be much more under the control of politics than politicians, peoples, and philosophers have hitherto assumed. Well, there's a politics. It is a bit, how do I say it? It is tiring to read the same word again and again. Not writing myself. Thank you, dog, for your input, but it's unnecessary. Okay. Please. The lesson is not over yet. Yeah. Now this one is my dog. Hang on. Let me ask him to politely quiet down a little bit. It's summer over here, and things get a little bit more active in the summer. I mean, by that I mean the dogs. When it's winter, they all like to stay inside their little houses and sleep all night and things like that. But since it's summer, they don't care, so they bark quite a lot more at night. So this passage, politics according to him is not limited to things above it. And things normally taken to be outside politics, the givens in any political situation, turn out to be much more under the control of politics than politicians. Things normally taken to be outside politics, okay, I understand that. The givens in any political situation, I do not get this passage. Turn out to be much more under the control of politics than politicians. Also, this passage is also confusing. Whoa, selection is kinda... no. Glitchy. It's easy to glitch the selection. What a glitchy program. Givens, politicians. Peoples and philosophers have hitherto assumed. Hitherto. I've heard this word before, but let's just look into the dictionary to make sure we have a hitherto. Up to this or that time. So far assumed. Yes, that is also how to pronounce this correctly. Hitherto.
Hitherto.
Hitherto. Okay, not hitherto. That's kind of unfortunate. I found a way of saying hitherto to be kind of interesting more than hitherto. English always disappointed me. Machiavelli's The Prince, then, is the most famous book on politics when politics is thought to be carried on for its own sake, unlimited by anything above it. Politics for the sake of politics. The renown of The Prince is precisely to have been the first and the best book to argue that politics has and should have its own rules and should not accept rules of any kind or from any source where the object is not to win or prevail over others. Oh yes. The neighbor's dog does not stop. It's kind of annoying. This is the most most famous part about the prince is what gave what gave Machiavelli the it's a called adjective of Machiavellian, like objective is not to win, should not accept rules of any kind or from any source where the object is not to win or prevail over others. So yes, a Machiavellian plot. The objective Machiavellian is let me actually came from this book, suggesting the principles of conduct laid down by Machiavelli, marked by cunning, duplicity, or bad faith. Yes, winning at all costs, winning above everything else. This is why this book, no, this is the book that made Machiavellian become an adjective. Is it an adjective? What do you say? Yes, an adjective. Because of this philosophy of him. First, thank you for the first buncombe. Congratulations, you get a whole night work armory where you can do anything you want. Remember, it's pretty good with illusions. And I'll be eager to know what else you may have planned to do with her, to do with your one special night with her. Anyway, we're over here. Machiavellian, yes. It's so glitchy. The first and best book to argue that politics has and should have its own rules, and should not accept rules of... Wait, hang on. It's precisely to have been... Oh, Jesus, that's loud. Thank you, Nue, for the suck. I appreciate your greeting. Maybe I should actually lower the volume of them up, but I kind of forgot about that. I'll make her give me the book summary. Yes, that might be a good that might be a good use of her time. Honestly, she'll be delighted to know about more, to be used for more erudite erudite goals, I guess. And also, it will fall on the test for the acolyte, so you better pay attention to the stream, or else you have your acolytes rights revoked, at least until you get a more approving grade on your stream watching. Anyway, the point that I wanted to make, the Prince is precisely to have been the first and best book to argue that politics has and should have its own rules and should not accept rules of any kind or from any source where the object is to not win or prevail over others. Win at any cost. Win. Win at any cost. There's something else that I want to say. Win at any cost. And there was another phrasing that I want to say, but alright, so we'll just move on. Win at any costs. The prince is briefer and pitier. 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 Consisting of or abounding in pith. Having substance and point. Oh, okay, a more meaty, as we could say now. More. What is the year of this book? 1985? 1998? By the University of Chicago. Second edition, 1998. Okay, yes, it is slightly antiquated. The prince is briefer and meatier, as a synonymous of Porto's word. Let me actually.
Pithier.
Pithier. The Machiavelli's other major work, Discourses on Live, for the prince is addressed to Lorenzo de Medici, a prince like the busy executive of our day who has little time for reading. That is an interesting analogy. So, the prince, with its political advice to an active politician that politics should not be limited by anything not political, is by far more famous than Discourses on Live. Prince, with its political advice to an active politics should not be limited by anything not political. What? Should not be limited by anything not political? Okay, hat off. Hat off, no protection, we going raw. Reading only. Oh shit! I forgot to move the headpads. There we go. You got a few moments of headpads. Also over here. This is a new scene I've prepared. Headpatting the story. Indeed, headpat the word. The words deserve it. The book deserves it. This is a this is a new scene I've prepared, which has a better layout to keep the book on the middle. So I forgot to move the headpads overlays. Anyway. Political advice to an active politician that politics should not be limited by anything not political. I do not exactly understand this passage. By far more famous than Discourses on Living. Yes, I might actually need to gather some water real soon. My throat's starting to itch a slightly bit. I am trying to keep my tone low and more pleasant. Also, the music's still kinda long. I can't actually control the volume with the... Damn, I can't read. Oh, that's unfortunate, Valerie. That is very unfortunate. Actually, let me try something I can... Maybe you can learn with us. Maybe you can learn how to read with us. You can read along and try to decipher the runes in front of you. Actually, I need to try something. Please bear with me. It is a learning stream. I can't actually control the volume levels with more granularity, so there we go. I'm gonna download the soundtrack and play locally, which means I have more control of it. Also, greetings Valerie, greetings Bunkum, greetings Stormkite. Yes, I said greetings to you. Greetings Spike. It's lovely to have you all here, joining me with us nerding time. Where were we? We cannot, however, agree that The Prince is the most famous book on politics, without immediately correcting this to say that it is the most infamous, indeed infamous book on politics. It is infamous for its infamy for recommending the kind of politics that ever since has been called Machiavellian. Oh, indeed, it is the point that I was making before. Oh my god. No, doggo, no, no. Please, no interruptions of the lecture. Questions will be there will be a time for questions near the end. Doggy, indeed, that is one of my two dogs over here. The one that you might be hearing right now in the background is like a Chihuahua from a neighbor. It is not my dog, unfortunately, so I can't exactly shut him up. Especially since he seems to be inside the house, but my neighbor's house. But even though he's like very far away, the dog has such a loud bark you can hear from over here. Yeah, moving on. It is famous for its infamy for recommending the kind of politics that ever since has been called Machiavellian. The essence of this politics is that you can get away with murder. That no divine sanction or degradation of soul or twinge of conscience will come to punish you. New word learned, twinge. Twinge, a sudden sharp stab of pain. A moral or emotional pain.
Twinge.
Twinge. Oh shit. Moving on, if you succeed, you will not even have to face the infamy of murder, because when men acquire who can acquire, they will be praised or not blamed. Men acquire who can acquire, they will be praised or not blamed. What a mysterious passage. Those criminals who are infamous have merely been on the losing side. Yes, that is a that is a variation of the history is written by the victors. Yes, indeed. People who lose are merely gonna be framed as a. These criminals are merely those who have lost. Machiavelli and Machiavelli in politics are famous or infamous for their willingness to brave infamy. Yet, it must be reported that the prevailing view among scholars of Machiavelli is that he was not an evil man who taught evil doctrines, and that he does not deserve his infamy. Yes, that's indeed what my teacher managed try to impart upon us during classes. I remember still to this day that even though Machiavelli was a very, very cold and talk about being ruthless politician, it's not that he was actually evil, who taught how to be evil. He was just ruthless. It is a different thing from being evil itself. Moving on, with a view to his preferences for republics over principalities, more evident in discourses on levy. I actually gonna keep making me pronounce this word, right?
Livy.
Levy, okay, I'm pronouncing it right. Then in The Prince, but not absent in the latter, they cannot believe he was an apologist for tyranny, or impressed by the sudden burst of Italian patriotism in the last chapter of The Prince, they forgive him for the sardonic observations which are not fully consistent with his generous feelings, but are thought to give it a certain piquancy. Jesus Christ, another word. Piquancy. The quality or state of being piquant. Okay, thank you. Engagingly provocative. Oh. Provocative.
Piquancy.
Piquancy. Sardonic observations which are not fully consistent with this generous feeling, but are thought to give it a certain piquancy, a certain, what's it called? Provocativeness. This is the opinion of an early generation of scholars, or, on the basis of Machiavelli in chapter 15, that we should take our bearings from what is done rather than from what should be done. Huh. They conclude that he was a forerunner of modern political science, which is not an evil thing because it merely tells us what happened without passing judgment. Okay, actually, let me turn something. I should put my microphone closer to me. Should pick. So I have more space on my desk. I don't need to actually type so many stuff or use the mouse. This should be slightly better to hear me and comprehend me. Now, let's actually take a second and look at this long... Where is the period over here? One period over here? Okay, and it ends over here. Why did you do this? Why is it green now? Okay. With a view to his preference for republics over principalities, they cannot believe he was an apologist for tyranny, or impressed by the sunburst of Italian patriotism in the last chapter of the Prince, they forgive him for the sardonic observations, which are not fully consistent with his generous feeling, but are thought to give it a certain provocativeness, or, on the basis of Machiavelli saying, chapter 15, that we should take our bearings from what is done rather than from what should be done. What is done rather than from what should be done. This passage I cannot say that I understand. They conclude that he was forerunner of modern political science, which is not an evil thing, because it merely tells us what happens without passing judgment. Okay. In sum, the prevailing view of the scholars offers excuses for Machiavelli. He was a republican, a patriot, or a scientist, and therefore, in explicit contradiction to the reaction of most people to Machiavelli, as soon as they hear of his doctrines, Machiavelli was not indeed Machiavellian. Dun dun dun. The reader can form his own judgment of these excuses for Machiavelli. I do not recommend them, chiefly because they make Machiavelli less interesting. The reader can form his own judgment of these excuses for Machiavelli. I do not recommend them, chiefly because they make Machiavelli less interesting. Okay. They transform him into a herald of the future who had the luck to sound the runes we hear so often today. Democracy, nationalism, or self-determination, and science. Instead of challenging our favorite beliefs and forcing us to think, Machiavelli is enlisted into a chorus of self-congratulation. These passages are a bit thick, you know, to understand, and not exactly very interesting for me to actually try to decipher what's exactly the meaning going between them. Yes, it's very... They transform him into a herald of the future who had the luck to sound the tunes we hear so often today. That is quite poetic and not easy to understand at first. He's a messenger. A messenger. Oh, why do you always bug when I do the selection? A messenger that brings... No, I cannot. Yes, I cannot get the passage. He was beyond his time, not beyond his time. He was ahead of his time. That is the meaning of this whole paragraph. He was ahead of his time because he started singing the tunes, started praising the elements that we find to be the efficient way of doing politics today: democracy, nationalism, self-determination, and science. These are like the bastions of our society these days. And he, even though he was preaching a ruthless kind of politics, teaching how to be a ruthless politician, he did praise these elements, democracy, which are the pillars of our society today. So he was ahead of his time. I think this is the essence of what these these paragraphs are trying to say. But instead of challenging our favorite beliefs and forcing us to think, Machiavelli is enlisted in the chorus of self-congratulation. Okay, I don't know what is it referring. I guess if you knew about the history around Machiavelli, you'd know how he was received, or later received, or something like that. Now moving on, there is of course evidence for the excuses supplied on behalf of Machiavelli, and that evidence consists of the excuses offered by the Machiavelli himself. What the hell is this paragraph? If someone were to accuse him of being an apologist for tyranny, he can indeed point to a passage in the Discourses of Livy, where he says rather carefully that the common good is not observed unless in republics. But if someone else were to accuse him of supporting republicanism, he could point to the same chapter where he says that the hardest slavery of all is to be conquered by a republic. Okay, I guess they're just talking about how he could find fault in everything. So yes, you say he supports democracy, he points out the bad parts of democracy. You say he's against democracy, he points out how democracy actually is. Oh, hello, Raiders. Oh, Dorian, hi, hello. I did not see that you're actually reading. You're not actually reading, that you were streaming, Dorian. Hello, Batraid. Greetings. Genshin sucks. Ah, yes. Unfortunately, I agree with that. Genshin kinda sucks, but hello Raiders, greeting. Welcome to the stream. I am Manasong, a lewd, degen, out-and professional multiverse wizard specializing in world building and Waifusmith. By that, I mean that I write 2 web novels you can find on my about pages. They are hard fantasy. They are based on a hard fantasy, which I mean kind of like a scientific fantasy. Harems, by that I mean polygamy, very, very cultured polygamy, also waifus, also a lot of smut, but there's also deep world building. Yes, that is indeed my succubus. She's called Grammary. She's a very friendly. She's a very friendly succubus, but she's also an honest to God succubus. So if you follow, if you sub, you'll be actually swearing your soul to her, and she'll come milk you after every stream. But if you sub to her, you can actually join her harem and become one of her husbandos, or also waifus if you are into that sort of thing. Now, thank you for the raid, Dorian. How was your stream? You're playing Pokemon Crystal. Just sneaking a quickie here. Ooh. What a curious title. All is base, indeed. It was fun. Glad to hear that. Snucking in a quick stream. Oh yes, I think I checked before I started streaming and I found nobody. I didn't see you. Like before I started streaming, I checked if there were people streaming and I did not see you. So yes, it was a quick stream, indeed. But thank you for the raid. Right now we are doing some nerding out over here. We are Niccolò Machiavelli. Oh my. What do you know about Niccolò Machiavelli, Fuakaku? We are actually doing a little bit of reading over here because I wanted to improve my writing skills, and since I'm doing a political arc on my stories, I wanted to study the most famous political book in history, The Prince by Niccolò Machiavelli. So we're just at the introduction yet because I keep going on tangents. This is pretty much a test stream. I've never done something like this before. It's just my first time. I might go for 2 hours, I might go for 3 hours, I don't know. We'll see. I cause a lot of trouble in real life, and a psych compared me to him, so I read this one. A psychologist compared to Niccolò Machiavelli. That's an interesting. That is a very interesting comparison. Also, thank you for the follow, Fuacoco. You've now sworn your soul to grammar. She's gonna milk you after every stream for a little bit of your life. Don't worry, she has learned how not to kill people. But since you are a demon yourself, I believe you two will have a lot of fun together. And if you're into that, you can also call for more friends for a bit of group fun. Milking, indeed, a lot of milking. Even if you're not a male, she can milk you. Thank you for the head pat, Fuacoco. I appreciate you a lot. Also, just be careful with my little ears, especially the inner fur is very sensitive. But I think someone like you should be very experienced in that. But indeed, we're being nerdy out, reading the still at the introduction because I'm very slow. I keep going on tangents and trying to understand exactly what I'm reading. It's not a traditional. Thank you for the head pat, Aisley. Keep heading patting her. Keep giving her kisses, and you keep stimulating her for a very good amount of fun after stream. Coco wants to be milk. I mean, who doesn't? That is the purpose of our life, isn't it? That is what shush. That is what we all want. She's the #1 customer and Milky Baby. Oh my, are you actually selling that? No, #1 customer. Oh, maybe you should actually join them then and start selling your own. Anyway, did I actually read this paragraph? Yes, I was just saying. I think they're talking in this paragraph that something like Machiavelli. If someone accuses Machiavelli of supporting something like democracy, he's being so realistic and so in depth with his analysis that he can just point out the flaws of democracy. If someone says that he's against democracy, that he's in favor of tyranny, he can just go into his book and point out how he also praised democracy. That seems like a neat merch idea. Can you actually sell breast milk though? Can you? It should be. If you can sell Germa Girl Batwander. Let's do a quick Google. Because why not? Google is my friend. We are a Google stream. How to sell breast milk. 9th step. Breast milk for sale. Risks and costs. Growing sale of breast milk online amid warnings about... Yes. There is ways for you to sell it. Vampire Fanboy breast milk from Dorian? Oh, now does Dorian milk? Milk Bar is a bar in Tokyo where instead of drinks, you suck on large breasts. Okay, Milky Bar. Milky Baby. Niccolò is a nifty, and this book is like effectively his job application, right? It could be said to be like that. Milky Baby Bar. Oh my, that's actually a thing. Thank you, Japan. Thank you, Japan. That is very, very nice. Rare commodity, 100,000 people. Jesus. But yes, in the beginning of the introduction, it said that Niccolò Machiavelli made this book for a prince who was in the middle of politicking himself, so it's like an instruction manual or a training manual for another prince. So it could be said to be a sort of a job application for Machiavelli. Not sure if he did get the job, but he did become famous indeed. Now, where were we? Conqueror, and while he shows his Italian patriotism in chapter 26 of The Prince by exhorting someone to seize... I need to cough. I might need a little bit of water in a moment. By exhorting someone to seize Italy in order to free it from the barbarians, he also shows his fair-mindedness by advising a French king in chapter 3 how he might better invade Italy the next time. Lastly, it is true that he sometimes merely reports the evil that he sees while unnecessarily deploring it. But at other times he urges us to share in that evil, and he virtuously condemns half-hearted immoralists. He virtuously condemns half-hearted immoralists. He urges us to share in that evil. Oh my god, that seems bad, things. Let's just say that seems bad. Although he was an exceedingly bold writer who seems to have deliberately courted an evil reputation, he was nonetheless not so bold as to fail to provide excuses or prudent reservations for his boldest statements. Since I have spoken at length on this point in another place, I will not hesitate to mention the work of Leo Strauss. It is not necessary to explain it further here. Okay, I guess, yeah, that was going on a tangent that was necessary. This is just the introduction from the translator, who gave some his own interpretation and notes about the work of Niccolò Machiavelli. Now, last paragraph. What is at issue in the question of whether Machiavelli was Machiavellian? To see that a matter of the highest importance is involved, we must not rest satisfied with either scholarly excuses or moral frowns. For the matter at issue is the character of the rules by which we reward human beings with fame or condemn them with infamy, the very status of morality. Wait, hang on. What is the issue? The question of whether Machiavelli was Machiavellian? To see the matter of the highest importance is involved, we must not rest satisfied with either scholarly excuses or morally frowns. Okay. But the matter at issue is the character of the rules by which we reward human beings with fame or condemn them with infamy. I guess he's just it's not the person on the analysis that will say that it's not the morality of people or the studies of scholars that will say whether Machiavelli was Machiavellian. It is actually a result of the system itself, something like that. I gotta get ready to leave, but have fun with your scene. Thank you, Dorian. Thank you for the raid, and I appreciate it. Thank you for bringing your little subbies to those nerding streams. I will take care of them very much. I'll take care of all of your subbies. I have leashes for everyone. No, but the matter issue, yes, indeed. It's the character of the rules by which we reward human beings with fame or condemn them with infamy. It seems like he's talking about society itself, the very status of morality, the morality of society itself, something like that. It's a bit thick. This book's a bit thick sometimes, I guess. Machiavelli does not make it clear at first that his grave question is his subject. In the dedicatory letter, he approaches Lorenzo de' Medici with hat in one hand and the prince in the other, since, he says, one must be a prince to know the nature of peoples, and a man of the people to know the nature of princes. He seems to offer Lorenzo the knowledge of princes he does not have but needs. In accordance with his half-serious promise, Machiavelli speaks about the kinds of principalities in the first part of the Prince, and, as we learn of the necessity of conquest, about the kinds of armies in the second part. But at the same time, to make his own history short, we learn that the Prince must or may lay his foundations on the people, and that while his only object should be the art of war, he must in time of peace pay attention to moral qualities in such manners as to be able to use them in time of war. Okay, kind of a thick passage. You need to be a man of the people to be a prince, you need to be a prince to understand the people, something like these little platitudes, I guess. Not very important to understand, honestly, since we're going to read about this eventually, maybe, if you continue the stream later. Thus are we prepared for Machiavelli's clarion call. Clarion call. What is this? What is the meaning of this? Yes, this book was written in like 1998, so... No, actually, reviewed in 98, it was written in 1985, so it is quite old and has some antiquated expressions. A clarion call is a strong and emotional appeal to people to do something. Okay, thus we are prepared for Machiavelli's call to do emotional appeal, his emotional call in chapter 15, where he proclaims that he departs from the order of others and says why. For moral qualities are qualities held good by the people. So if the prince must conquer and wants, like the Medici, to lay his foundation on the other people who are the keepers of morality, then a new morality consistent with the necessity of conquest must be found. And the prince has to be taught anew about the nature of peoples by Machiavelli. Okay, I guess this paragraph and this part, they're talking about, yes, in war you need to put your moralities aside, but in peace you need to relearn your morality. I guess it is the essence of this little part. In departing from the others, it appears more fitting to Machiavelli to go directly to the effectual truth of the thing than to the imagination of it. I guess he means to be practical rather than be ideological. Yes, go directly to the effectual truth. Yes, I guess be practical of the thing rather than to imagination of it, rather than your ideal of it. Be practical rather than idealistic. Many have imagined republics and principalities, but one cannot let go what is done for what should be done. Let go what is done for what should be done. Because a man who makes a profession of good in all regards comes to ruin among so many who are not good. This is very difficult, this passage. The prince must learn to be able not to be good and use this ability or not according to necessity. The prince must learn to be able not to be good. Your prince must learn to be able not to be good and use this ability or not according to necessity. I think that's what I was saying. I think this was what I was saying about. What was even saying? What was even saying? My mind went in on a little blank over here. What was I even saying about arm? Oh yes, morality. Morality should be practical. In times of war, you don't really need morality, but in times of peace, you better rebuild your morality and base it on the people that you rule, something like that, something along those lines, I believe. Now moving on, the prince must be able to know. Okay, yeah, this passage which is confusing. Now next paragraph, this concise statement is most efficacious. Contains a fundamental assault on all morality and political science. Both Christian and classical, as understood in Machiavelli's time, morality had meant not only doing the right action, but also doing it for the right reasons or for the love of God. Yes, indeed. On that time, I need to clear my throat. In that time, when religion was a lot more important, to put aside your morality and be practical with your morality seems like kind of a heresy. Thus, to be good was thought to require a profession of man of the people. Wait, what? A profession of good in which the motive for doing good was explained. Hold on, let's start over again. Thus, to be good was thought to require a profession of good in which the motive for doing good was explained. Otherwise, morality will go no deeper than outward conformity to law, or even to superior force, and could not be distinguished from it. Indeed, if your morality is practical, why not push your morality up until the limit of law? And that's pretty heretical for a religious society. But professions of good could not accompany moral actions in isolation from each other. I do not understand exactly what does it mean by professions of good. Is it professions in the name of an occupation, like a laborer, or professions of good? Maybe it's on the meaning of speeches. You make claims that you're a good person, but these claims cannot accompany moral actions in isolation from each other. They would have to be elaborated so that moral actions will be consistent with each other, and the life of a moral person would form a whole. Oh, yeah. So basically, your morality needs to be internally consistent. Your morality to be logical, and all of the little pieces of your morality must build on each other, not to be kind of isolated, which goes against the principles of a practical morality. Well, I guess it goes. I'm not exactly the most biggest scholar on morality myself, so I'm just giving my thoughts about what I'm reading, my own understanding of the text itself is just what I'm saying. Such elaboration requires an effort of imagination, since the consistency we see tells us only of the presence of outward conformity, and the elaboration extends over a society, because it's difficult to live a moral life by oneself. Consistency, yes, I guess it is related to what I was saying about being consistent, being logical. Hence, morality requires the construction of an imagined republic or principality, such as Plato's Republic with Saint Augustine, City of God. Let me add this one to the list of interesting books to read. Every time an interesting book is mentioned, I should actually add it. Saint Augustine's City of God. Okay. When Machiavelli denies that imagined republics and principalities exist in truth and declares that the truth in these or all matters is the effectual truth, he says that no moral rules exist not made by man, which man must abide by. Oh, this is deep. Not deep, but complicated to understand. Imagine republics and principalities. The truth in these all or among matters, the effectual truth. He says that no moral rules exist not made by man, which man must abide by. I guess he's saying something about being pragmatic. I'm not exactly understanding this passage. The rules or laws that exist are those made by governments or other powers acting under necessity, and they must be obeyed out of the same necessity. Whatever is necessary may be called just and reasonable, but justice is no more reasonable than what a person's prudence tells him he must acquire for himself or must submit to, because men cannot afford justice in any sense that transcends their own preservation. Okay, I guess it is basically extreme pragmatism, it's basically being telling people to ignore religious morality, things like that. Everything's practical, everything's made of necessity. Yes, government, the rules or laws, these are those made by governments or powers, or the powers acting under necessity. Yes, nothing is absolute, nothing is true, everything's permitted. No, I mean, no morality is absolute. It's all about practicality. It's all about the practicality and their usefulness. Now, where did I stop? Where it's necessary. Yes, whatever is necessary may be called just and reasonable, but just is no more reasonable thing what a person's prudence tells him he must acquire from himself or must submit to, because man cannot afford justice in any sense that transcends their own preservation. Yes, justice just go I think he's saying something like a person's justice only goes so far as their own safety. As their own safety. A person's justice only goes so far as their own self-preservation. Yes, indeed, that's exactly the same thing that I just read. A person's justice only goes so far as their own safety is concerned. Yes, that is the phrasing that I was looking for. A person's sense of justice only goes so far as their own safety is concerned. I already forgot the exact phrase that I just said. It was the perfect phrase, and I already forgot what I just said. But there's an ad starting in 2 minutes. We'll do a little break. I need to grab a little water. And to grab a lot of water, actually. Yeah, this is I'm trying to keep my tone low, my tone gentle, so that it's more pleasant to listen to me. But it's straining my throat a little bit. I'll grab a little bit of water and have a little pause right now. Now let's actually just try to make a sense of this. No more reasonable, but justice is no more reasonable than what a person's prudence tells him he must acquire from himself or submit to, because men cannot afford justice in any sense that transcends their own preservation. Yes, what was he even saying? A person's sense of justice only goes so far as their safety is concerned. If seeking justice would actually damage our own person, would actually put them in danger, anyone sane would actually stop. Unless they have some big sense of guilt and they need to see that finish. Otherwise, Otherwise, there's really no point. Why are you seeking justice if you only harm yourself? Or maybe you want to harm someone more than you harm you. But still, safety, people are moved by their self-preservation, even if their sense of justice is something that's said to be more important than anything, like say religious morality, things like that. Which is what Machiavelli is telling people to ignore. Her own morality must be practical, must be pragmatic. Machiavelli did not attempt, as did Hobbes, to formulate a new definition of justice based on self-preservation. Yes, exactly what I was saying. A definition of justice based on self-preservation. Instead, he showed what he meant by not including justice among the 11 pairs of moral qualities I list in chapter 15. Huh. He does mention justice in chapter 21 as a calculation of what weaker party might expect from a prince whom it has supported in war, but even thus little is contradicted by Machiavelli says about keeping faith in chapter 18 and about betraying one's old supporters in chapter 20. Okay, basically exactly the same thing. Yeah, basically what I was saying, but in different words. It's not even part of justice. Is not even part of morality. He believes. 10 seconds until ads. 3 minutes ads. Go grab something to drink. Go grab something to. Go take a little bio break or grab something to eat. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Well, we are back. I could not find a bottle of water that I could use, but I grabbed myself a little cup of water. It's been a while since I had any sort of bottle of water over here at home. I only drink filtered water from the cup, so I'm worried about spilling my cup of water on my keyboard. But I'll grab for the next stream. I'll actually grab a bottle of water for myself. Now, music is off. Actually, let me try to. I downloaded the OST. Oh shit! Yeah, the the little text telling about what's the OST it's partially hidden by the. Oh no, not like this. Okay, now it actually looks better. That was looking kinda ugly. Also, hello, Severin Nayemi. Glad to have you here. Let me actually open and muted my desktop audio for a second so I can balance audio levels. Yes, there we go. Now I have a little bit more control of the sound level of this soundtrack. I was using a YouTube video, but it was like a 5% volume, and was not very easy to increase or to a perfect level. I am very peculiar about my audio levels. So I have a little bit more control over here. There we go. Learning, test stream, learning. Let me take another sip of water. My throat's getting a bit itchy. I think it's because I'm straining a little bit in a way I'm not actually used to reading like this, forcing my tone to be low. Forcing my tone to be low and gentle. Now, where were we? We're actually at the ending of this passage. Where are we actually? Yes. Justice in chapter. Machiavelli does mention justice in chapter 21 as a calculation of what a weaker party might expect from a prince whom it has supported in war. But even this legal is contradicted by what Machiavelli says about keeping faith in chapter 18, and about betraying one's old supporters in chapter 20. Yeah, I'm muting myself to clear my throat and sip on water. He also brings up justice as something identical, with necessity in chapter 26, but what is most striking, he never mentions, not in the Prince or in any of his works, natural justice or natural law. The two conceptions of justice in the classical and medieval tradition that have been handed down to his time, and that could be found in the writings on the subject of all his contemporaries. The grave issue raised by the dispute whether Machiavelli was truly Machiavellian is this: does justice exist by nature or by God, or is it the convenience of the prince's government? So, let a prince win and maintain a state. The means will always be judged honorable, and will be praised by everyone. Reputation, then, is outward conformity to successful human force, and has no reference to moral rules that the government might find inconvenient. I think this is pretty much the same points that I've been talking about before. Yeah. Morality is practical, ignore religious morality, but that also raises a problem because it's a religious society. If there is no natural justice, perhaps Machiavelli can teach the prince how to rule in its absence, but with a view to the fact that men profess it. Actually, what is exactly natural justice? I think it's a concept that has some special meaning that we we might be actually missing. Yes, natural justice, it has a Wikipedia page. In English law, natural justice is technical terminology for the rule against bias and the right to a fair hearing. While the term natural justice is often retained as a general concept, it has been replaced and extended by the general duty to act fairly. There is no natural justice. Is this the same justice? I'm reading the Wikipedia entry of natural justice. Is this the same meaning of natural justice that is being used in the book? The duty to act fairly. There's... Yeah, it says in the English, in English law. Not to be confused with natural law, okay. Natural law is a system of law based on a close observation of human nature and based on values intrinsic to human nature that can be deduced and applied independently of positive law, the express enacted law of a state or society. According to the theory of law called just naturalism, all people have inherent rights conferred not by act of legislation but by God, nature, or reason. Natural law theory can also refer to theories of ethics, theories of politics, theories of civil law, and theories of religious morality. So, human rights. People have inherent rights. I guess this is the meaning. Human rights, inherent rights, inherent laws, natural justice. I guess this is the meaning going on, but being used by the text. If there is no natural justice, perhaps Machiavelli can teach the prince how to rule in its absence, but with a view to the fact that men profess it. I'm not sure. I don't exactly understand this passage. It does not follow of necessity that because no natural justice exists, princes can rule successfully without it. Governments might be as unsuccessful in making and keeping conquest as in living up to natural justice. Indeed, the traditional proponents of natural justice, when less confident of their own cause, had pointed to the uncertainty of gain, to the happy inconstancy of fortune, as an argument against determinate wickedness. What is going on in this passage? Governments might be unsuccessful in making and keeping conquests as in living up to natural justice. Indeed, the traditional proponents of natural justice, when less confident of their own cause, have pointed to the uncertainty of gain, to the happy inconstancy of fortune, as an argument against determinate wickedness. Governments might be unsuccessful in making and keeping conquests as in living up to natural justice. Yes, governments might have problems respecting human rights. The proponents of natural justice, when less confident of their own cause, pointed to the uncertainty of gain, uncertainty of victory, uncertainty of profit, maybe. The happy inconstancy of fortune. Happy inconstancy. Why happy inconstancy? As an argument against determinate wickedness. Determined. I don't exactly understand how these uncertainty of gain, happy inconstancy are an argument against determinate wickedness. I don't even understand what determinate wickedness it is even means. Let me drink again. Yeah, sipping on water seems to keep the itching on my throat low, so I'll just need to sip a lot of water while I talk. But Machiavelli thinks it's possible to learn to be able to be good. To learn to be able not to be good. To learn to be able not to be good. What a weird phrasing. I do not understand. Be able not to. English examples in context. Okay. The phrase "be able not to" is correct and can be used in English. Would you be able not to do that? To be able not to be good. Jesus Christ, what does this mean? What arcane meanings are these? Learning how not to be good. A plebeian first. Okay. It seems to be an actual phrase related to Machiavelli. In teaching political leaders to be able not to be good, Machiavelli does not therefore simply advocate interest. Learn to be able to not be good and to use not to use it according to necessity. Oh my god, this phrasing it does not confuse. It does not confuse. It does not compute to me. It is making me very confused. What the hell is going on? I'll just move on, I guess. We're just in the introduction. I'm spending way too much time on the introduction. For each of the difficulties of gaining and keeping, especially for the fickleness of fortune, he has a remedy, to use his frequent expression. For each of the difficulties of gaining and keeping, even and especially for the fickleness of fortune, he has a remedy, to use his frequent expression. Okay, he has a remedy to the fickleness of fortune and keeping and gaining fortune, I guess. Since nature or God does not support human justice, men are in need of a remedy, and the remedy is the prince, especially the new prince. Why must the new prince be preferred? Oh, this one I think I get it. Since nature or God does not support human justice, indeed. Real life justice does not exist in the wild. Just does not exist in the wild. So men are in need of a remedy, in need of a solution that gives them justice. And the remedy is the prince, especially the new prince. The new prince because he's cleaning house, as you could say. If you think about it, a new prince comes into power and he has and things are changing. Everyone wants things to change, so he cleans house. Everyone's expecting him to clean house. And that's the best moment for men to get their justice. I guess this is why he mentioned specifically the new prince. Why must the new prince be preferred? Oh, I think you might have heard me gulp. I'm muting myself, but sometimes I do not mute precisely the right time. So I think I heard the audio levels on my mic go up, so you might have heard me gulp. In the heading, moving on, in the heading to the first chapter of the Prince, we see that the kinds of principalities are to be discussed together with the ways in which they are acquired. And then in the chapter itself, we find more than this, that principalities are classified into kinds by the ways in which they are acquired. Okay? Acquisition is a... How much more? Oh my fucking god. There's so much. 1 page, 2 pages, 3 pages, 4 pages, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 pages of introduction yet. I guess I should go more faster with this. Acquisition, an economic term, is Machiavelli's word for a conquest. An acquisition determines the classifications of governments, not their aims or structure, as Plato and Aristotle had thought. How is acquisition related to the problem of justice? Wait, no. Acquisition determines the classification of governments, not their aims or structures. I guess it makes sense. You can't make a certain utopia by being a bloodthirsty murderer. So the means of acquisition of the means of conquest, the means that you build your government will define how it is actually functions later on. You can't just do whatever you want and expect an utopia to rise up from this new government that you're building. But now, how is acquisition related to the problem of justice? Justice requires a modest complement of external goods, the equipment of virtue in Aristotle's phrase, to keep the wolf from the door and to provide for moral persons a certain descent distance from necessities in the face of which morality might falter or even fail. Keep the wolf from the door. I guess is what I said, that if you build a government based on bloodthirsty conquest, the bloodthirsty people just conquered everything and give you everything you want. They're still out there. You need to clean them up. It's not gonna be. You're not gonna have the most fair of governments if you build your government like that. You build your government in justice and the slaughter. For how can one distribute justly without something to distribute? How can someone distribute justly without something to distribute? Huh. But then, where is one to get this modest complement? The easy way is by inheritance. In chapter 2, Machiavelli considers hereditary principalities in which a person falls heir to everything he needs, especially the political power to protect what he has. The hereditary prince, the man who has everything, is called the natural prince, as if to suggest that our grandest and most comprehensive inheritance is what we get from nature. But when the hereditary prince looks upon his inheritance, and when we, generalizing from his case, add up to everything we inherited, is it adequate? Well, not much to go in this passage. The difficulty with hereditary principalities is indicated at the end of chapter 2, where Machiavelli admits that hereditary princes will have to change, but claims that change will not be disruptive because... What? Hereditary princes will have to change, but claims that change will not be disruptive because it can be gradual and continuous. Okay, the new prince will have to make changes, but the change cannot be disrupted because it can be gradual and continuous. Okay. Guess that makes sense. He compares each prince's own construction to building a house that is added onto a row of houses. You may not inherit all you need, but you inherit a firm support and an easy start in what you must acquire. But clearly, a row of houses so built over generations presupposes that the first house was built without existing support and without an easy start. And it also presupposes that the previous houses are all of solid foundation. That is very important. Kingdoms can last hundreds of years. Yes, that's very stable. There's also quite a lot of time compared to our little foray into democracy. Honestly, most of the overwhelming length of time, most of human history has been through kingdoms and principalities and whatever. Democracy is basically just a little baby. So all kingdoms have so far failed. Eventually they all fail, but democracy has not exactly proved itself to be more stable. Now, where was I? Okay. Inheritance presupposes an original a row of houses so built over generations presupposes that the first house was built without existing support and without an easy start. Inheritance presupposes an original acquisition made without the previous inheritance. And in the original acquisition, full attention to the niceties of justice may unfortunately not be possible. One may congratulate an American citizen for all the advantage to which he is born. But what were the nasty necessities that prepared this inheritance? The British expelled, Indians defrauded, blacks enslaved. Indeed. Oh, why do you always bug like this? Machiavelli informs us in the 3rd chapter, accordingly, that truly it is a very natural and ordinary thing to desire to acquire. In the space of a few pages, natural has shifted in meaning from hereditary to acquisitive. Or can we be consoled by reference to Machiavelli's republicanism, not so prominent in The Prince, with the talk that acquisitiveness may be natural to princes, but not is natural to republics? Not a lot to go on this passage, really. But in chapter 3, Machiavelli praises the successful acquisitiveness of the Romans, that is, the Roman Republic, by comparison to the imprudence of the King of France. At the time Machiavelli was referring to, the time Machiavelli is referring to, the Romans were not weak and vulnerable as they were at their inception. They had grown powerful and were still expanding. Even when they had enough empire to provide an inheritance for their citizens, they went on acquiring. Even when they had enough empire to provide an inheritance for their citizens, they went on acquiring. Yes, conquest. As was previously defined, acquiringness means conquest. So the Roman Empire already had a big, rich empire, but they still did not stop conquering. Was this reasonable? It was, because the haves of this world cannot quietly inherit what is coming to them, lest they be treated now as they once treated others. Oh, this is interesting. Was this reasonable? It was. The endless conquest was reasonable, because the haves, the people who have things in this world, the people who get conquered, the conquerors of this world, cannot quietly inherit what is coming to them, lest they be treated now as they once treated others. So yes, the people who conquer create a system where they need to keep conquering, or else they'll be conquered back, if they even so as slip a little bit. They must keep an eye on the have-nots, to keep a step ahead of the have-nots. The haves must think and behave like have-nots. They certainly cannot afford justice to the have-nots, nor can they waste time or money on sympathy. It is a doggy-eat-doggy world out there. In the dedicatory letter, Machiavelli presents himself to Lorenzo as a have-not, from a low and mean state, and one thing he lacks besides horrible employment, we learn, is a unified fatherland. Oh yes, a doggy world. Indeed, dog. This is what Coco mentioned, that it was he lacks besides honorable employment. In his dedicatory letter, he presents to Lorenzo, the guy who received. Lorenzo is a prince who received the book called The Prince. And he said, and Machiavelli mentions that he lacks honorable employment. We learn, it's a unified fatherland. No, and the one thing he lacks besides honorable employment is a unified fatherland. So he's basically really giving his curriculum like, yeah, I'm super smart. I know politics. I can help you do politics, and I'll help you unite. And I'll help you unite Italy. Italy is weak and divided. Then should we say that the acquisitiveness is justified for Italians of Machiavelli's time, including him? As we have noted, Machiavelli does not seem to accept this justification, because still in chapter 3, he advises a French king how to correct the errors he had made in his invasion of Italy. Besides, was Machiavelli's fatherland Italy, or was it France? Chapter 15, he refers to our language. Oh, yeah, this passage over here is not really that interesting. In chapter 15, he refers to our language, meaning Tuscan, and in chapter 20 to our ancients, meaning Florentines. But does it matter whether Machiavelli was essentially an Italian or a Florentine patriot? Anyone's fatherland is defined by original acquisition, a conquest, and hence is always subject to the repudiation of the same kind. Yeah, it is a problem you can see in many, let's say, border issues where yeah, this land belongs to me, but not exactly. There's a people before you that you conquer from, and the people who came before you had people that they conquer from, and the people that come before you they conquered, they conquered, and it's an endless cycle of conquering and conquering. I think that's the intent of this passage. To be devoted to one's native country at the expense of foreigners is no more justified than to be devoted to one's city at the expense of fellow countrymen. To be devoted to one's native country at the expense of foreigners is no more justified than to be devoted to one's city at the expense of fellow countrymen, or to one's families at the expense of fellow city-dwellers, or, to adapt a Machiavellian remark in chapter 17, to one's patrimony at the expense of one's father. So basically saying that nationalism is shit. Another sip. Yeah, he's basically saying that naturalism is shit. Naturalism is meaningless because at some level we are all humans at a certain point. So being overly attached to any sort of nation is has no real benefit. It's not practical. It's not pragmatic because the only thing that matters is victory. Now moving on. So to unify one's fatherland means to treat it as a conquered territory, conquered by a king or republic from within. And Machiavelli's advice to the French king on how to hold his conquests in Italy was also advice to Lorenzo on how to unify Italy. It appears that in acquiring the new prince has acquired what? It appears that in acquiring, by that he means in conquering, the new prince acquires for himself. What a weird. Oh, hello, Mimi. Hat is on. Oops, wrong. Come on, where's my... Oh, yes, fuck. I had turned on no lockpad. Hat is on. Safety is on. No more breathing, only safe. Oh, Bunkan wants it raw. Breathing only. Hat is off. And hello, Mimi. Glad to have you here. Join us for an early time. I actually turned off my... Can you turn it back on? Flux, yes. I use a thing called flux, f.lux, which makes my screen a bit darker at night. Ah, the ears are out again, indeed. The ears, my cute little ears are out. And I'm been slowly ringing my model. Eventually, my ears will have a lot of little wiggling that you'll be able to see. Thank you for the headpad, Bunko. I appreciate it. Be careful with the inner fur. But you can reach it, but be sure to reach it deep in there. I enjoy it, but just be careful. You don't have nightlight? Yeah, I use Flux. Wait, what do you mean by nightlight actually? I use Flux to darken to make the screen more redden, I guess, to lower the blue lights. I'm not sure if it's the pseudoscience or something like that. I just keep it because why not? When I'm streaming, I take it off, honestly, when I'm playing games. It's like Flux, but comes with a Windows 10. Oh. Do I have Windows 10? I guess. Night light. Oh, there is a night light system. But Flux, I'm already used to using Flux because of the it has some configurations for it. But it's easier to keep with something that already works and work on something else. But I do use Nightlight for my Linux when I'm doing AI picture generations. Because installing Flux on Linux has not been very easy. So I just use the inbuilt Nightlight system. I see, yes, you see, and so do I. Oh shit, I went back to the end of the book. Where were we? I think we're in this page. I press a keybind and we went to the ending of the book. It appears that... Okay, yes, we're here. It appears that in acquiring, the new prince acquires for himself. What are the qualities of the new prince? What must he do? First, as we have seen, he should rise from private or unprivileged status. He should not have an inheritance, or if he has, he should not rely on it. He should owe nothing to anyone or anything, for having debts of gratitude will make him dependent on others. In the widest sense, dependent on fortune. It might seem that the new prince depends at least on the character of the country he conquers. And Machiavelli says at the end of chapter 4 that Alexander had no trouble in holding Asia, because they had been accustomed to the government of one lord. But then in chapter 5 he shows how this limitation can be overcome. A prince who conquers a city used to live in freedom need not respect its inherited liberties. Ooh. He can and should destroy such cities, or else rule them personally. Fortune supplies the prince with nothing more than opportunity, as when Moses found the people of Israel. Israel? Is Israel or Israel? How do you actually pronounce?
Israel.
Israel. Damn. Oh yes, Israel is a Portuguese pronunciation. Where was I? Fortune supplies the prince with nothing more than opportunity, and when Moses found the people of Israel enslaved by the Egyptians, Romulus found himself exposed at birth, Cyrus found the Persians discontented with the empire of the Medes, and Decius found the Athenians dispersed. Fortune. As when Moses found the people of Israel enslaved by the Egyptians. Okay. Yeah, this is an interesting passage. You find a city used to living in freedom. You need not respect his inherited liberties. He can and should destroy such cities or else rule them personally. Yes, greed. Yes, these cities. I think it's an interesting point because it reminds me of Game of Thrones when it was good. Like there's a Daenerys. She conquers those three cities, and they are very rich, and they give her a lot of money, but she has a lot of trouble keeping them under control because they are used to being quote unquote free. So they keep making plots to remove her from power. And eventually she does manage to destroy her enemies, but it still takes a long time. She needs to actually rule the city personally, or else if she leaves, everyone just starts ignoring her and resumes going back to their own previous ways. So it is an interesting view because it is ruthlessly suggesting to destroy cities. How do we actually do that on practicality? Raise a city? You need to create a bloodbath to destroy a city like that. Imagine a prince. How do you actually effectively destroy a city you've just conquered? You need to kill the people in power. You need to kill out this whole structure. You need to raise and make that city useless. Honestly. So yes, it seems like it's logical, but in practice, Jesus Christ, you're going to hell. You're going to hell because just because you could not control the city, you're going to fully destroy it. That's pretty grim, but it does make a lot of sense. It does make a lot of sense because the only benefit a city has is to bring you fortune, and fortune supplies opportunities. But if you have plenty of opportunities, maybe you don't need to actually conquer, to actually take control of every city you conquer. You can just raise them. Now moving on. These famous founders had the virtue to recognize the opportunity that fortune offered to them. Opportunity for them, harsh necessity to their peoples. Instead of dispersing the inhabitants of a free city, the prince is lucky enough to find them dispersed. This suggests that the prince could go so far as to make his own opportunity by creating a situation of necessity in which no one's inherited goods remain to him and everything is owed to you, the new prince. Create a situation where everything is owed to you, the new prince. Create a situation where you can save people. Instead of you just going there and saving people, you create the situation where people will need to be saved, and then you save them, and then they owe you everything. As you can see, this is a pretty Machiavellian plot, if you're going to use the adjective in its correct way. When a new prince comes to power, should he be grateful to those who help him get the power and rely on them? Indeed not. A new prince has lukewarm defenders in his friends and allies, because they expect benefits from him. As we have seen, it's much better to conciliate his former enemies who fear losing everything. Oh my god, even your own allies are in danger. Because yes, like I said, you conquered, maybe you did a bloodthirsty conquering, but once you've done conquering, the people who did the murder, they're still out there. Now they're a danger to you. Another sip. I'm running out of water. Jesus Christ. Oh, I need you. And now the people who actually defended you, now they don't owe you. Now that you owe them your throne, they become lukewarm defenders. Why did you? They become lukewarm defenders. So it is better to have someone who owes a lot to you than allies who may not be very enthusiastic in their following support of you, because they feel like you owe them something. And now moving on, thus the new prince has virtue that enables him to overcome his dependence on inheritance in the widest sense, including custom, nature, and fortune, and that shows him how to arrange it that others depend on him and his virtue. So yes, do not depend on, you do not owe, do not let yourself owe anything to anyone. Make sure everyone owes you everything. But if virtue is to do all this, it must have a new meaning. But if virtue is to do all this, it must have a new meaning. Indeed, if this is being virtuous, we need to actually create a new meaning for virtue, because this is not virtue. This is ruthlessness and heartlessness. Instead of cooperating with nature or God, as in the various classical and Christian conceptions, virtue must be taught to be acquisitive on its own. Virtue must be taught to be acquisitive on its own. Acquisition means conquest. Conquering, taking, and expanding. So, virtue must be taught to be acquisitive on its own? I don't exactly understand what does this mean. Machiavelli teaches the new meaning of virtue by showing us both the new and the old meanings. In a famous passage on the successful criminal Agathocles in chapter 8, he says, "One cannot count it virtue to kill one's citizens, betray one's friends, to be without faith, without mercy, without religion. Yet in the very next sentence, Machiavelli proceeds to speak of the virtues of Agathocles." The prince, we have seen in chapter 15, must learn to be able to not to be good, and to use this and not use it according to necessity. Machiavelli supplies this knowledge in chapter 16 to 68. First, with superb claim, he delivers the home truths concerning the moral virtue of liberality. Okay, yeah, this previous passage has nothing interesting about that, so I just gloss over it. With superb calm, he delivers home truths concerning the moral virtue of liberality. It is no use being liberal or generous unless it is noticed, so that you are held liberal or get a name for liberality. I don't understand what is mean by that part. But a prince cannot be held liberal by being liberal. What? Because he would have to be liberal to a few by burdening the many with taxes. Because he would have to be liberal to a few by burdening the many with taxes. The many would be offended. The prince would have to retrench, and he would soon get a name for stinginess. Oh, okay. Being liberal with money. I guess it's the essence of what's the meaning of this passage. Being liberal with money to your friends, but prince cannot be held liberal by being liberal, because you have to be liberal to a few. Yes, being liberal to a few friends. Be liberal with money to a few of your friends by burdening the many with taxes, expanding a lot. The many would be offended. The prince would have to retrench. I guess he would have to tighten up the money again, and then he'll get a name for being stingy. So, being liberal with money, rewarding your friends with money, I guess, or something like that, being liberal with favors, will mean that you quickly run out, and then you have to tighten up, and now you're famous for being uptight. So nothing gain. In the end, you only lose if you're generous. If you're a generous and liberal, I guess that's the point of this passage. The right way to get a reputation for liberality is to begin by not caring about having a reputation for stinginess. Yes, if you're gonna be stingy anyway, if the end point, if all your choices leads you to being stingy, then just be stingy from the beginning. Don't even try to reward your friends. When the people see that the prince gets the job done without burdening them, they will in time consider him liberal to them and stingy only to the few to whom he gives nothing. In the event, liberality comes to mean taking little rather than giving much. Taking little rather than giving much. Yeah, it's not even about rewarding your friends, about not taking a lot from them. But yes, it's all about perception. If you're stingy from the beginning, and then you only take a little, people will actually begin to believe that you're actually generous when you aren't too stingy. It's all a matter of perception, yes. People will call you generous when you're less stingy than usual. That is the point, the main point of this this passage. And I ran out of water. There's 13 minutes until next ad break, so I'm just gonna grab more water. 30 seconds, bring back. At least I'm hydrating a lot. In my previous stream, I never really drink anything, so I'm already on my second cup of water now. I guess it's healthy to do some studying streams. I guess it's more healthy. Would have thought. Oh, hang on. Let me readjust something. I'm being careful with where I put my cup of water, so that if I eventually spill it up, I do not lose all of my stuff, like saying my phone and my expensive PS4 controller. Yeah, I already spilled once water, not exactly water, it was soda on my laptop. And it wasn't exactly on it, it was just that I spilled and the water ended up under it. So now I've learned to actually put my things that are valuable when there's liquid nearby. I put them a bit raised. I put them on top of other stuff, like say my laptop when I take it to the kitchen. And now I put it on those little rope mats, things that you put so that the pots don't burn the table. And if I ever manage to spill something again, unless I actually spill it directly on the laptop, you'll never get wet like that. But moving on, yes, stinginess and generosity is based on perception. So if you're always stingy, when you're less stingy, people think you're being generous. Now moving on, as regards cruelty and mercy, in chapter 8 Machiavelli made a distinction between cruelties well used and badly used. Well used cruelties are done once for self-defense, and not continued but turn to the benefit of one's subjects, and badly used ones continue and increase. This is something that I've read about in a manga. I think it's a bit of a famous modern harem manga where a dude is sent back to a medieval society, and he uses Machiavellian quotes, and then he says that you can be cruel but only once, something along those lines. In chapter 17, however, he does not mention this distinction, but rather speaks only for using mercy badly. Mercy is badly used when Like the frequenting people in a certain instance, one seeks to avoid a reputation for cruelty, and thus allows disorders to continue, which might be stopped with a very few good examples of cruelty. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Not really much to add. Disorders harms everybody. Executions are only the few or the one who is executed. The prince may gain a name for liberality by thinking liberal, so he may be held merciful by not being cruel too often. Now, now that is a statement. He can be held merciful. He can be perceived as merciful by not being cruel too often. This is a very fun quote-unquote statement. Machiavelli's new prince arranges the obligation of his subjects to himself in a manner rather like that of the Christian God. What? Arranges the obligation of his subjects to himself in a manner rather like that of the Christian God, in the eye of whom all are guilty by original sin. Damn. Sounds Kardashian. You're already born with guilt. You're already born with sin. Hence God's mercy appears less as the granting of benefits than as the remission of punishment. With this thought in mind, the reader will not be surprised that Machiavelli goes on to discuss whether it is better for the prince to be loved or feared. It is best to be both loved and feared, but when necessity forces a choice, it is better to be feared, because men love at their convenience, but they fear at the convenience of the prince. Men love at their convenience, but they fear at the convenience of the prince. This is an interesting passage. Let me take a sip. This is actually an interesting passage because, yes, love is something that happens internally, I say, with no... Yeah, love happens at random. Love is uncontrollable. Love can happen at any moment, and it actually can fail to happen. You can actually fail because love. I mean, that's everyone knows how that goes. Everyone knows that sort of experience. But fear is something you inflict upon others. You can't really make others love you, but you can make others fear you. So yes, it's better to be loved when you can't, but when you need to, you better be feared. You better know how to make people fear you. Now, friends may fail you, but the dread of punishment will never forsake you. Another good point. Your friends, who may not be very eager to obey you, who may feel like you owe them, who may feel like you owe something to them, may not be maybe not be the most enthusiastic supporters, but the people who dread punishment, yeah, they might be more inclined to follow you. If the prince avoids making himself hated, which he can do by abstaining from the property of others, by that I mean by not taking things from others, because men forget the death of a father more quickly than the loss of patrimony. Oh damn, now that is a controversial statement. Because men forget the death of a father more quickly than the loss of patrimony? I won't say something like that. Sounds extremely cynical. Well, I guess it is Machiavelli, but I'm not sure if I would agree with something like that. But I don't really have any sort of experience to say something like that. To say with certainty that men forgive the loss of patrimony more than they forgive the loss of their... Yeah, everything on my instinct would say that death of a loved one is a lot more deeper and harder to forget than being stolen. Yeah, I really can say I agree with this passage though. Now moving on. He will again have subjects obligated to him for what he does not do to them. What? He will again have subjects obligated to him for what he does not do to them, rather than for benefits he provides. Okay. Yeah, same thing as the previous character. As the previous paragraphs. He's being seen as generous and merciful because he's less stingy and less merciless than usual. It is laudable for a prince to keep faith, Machiavelli says in chapter 18, but princes who have done great things have done them by deceit and betrayal. The prince must learn how to use the beast in man, or rather the beasts, for men. There's something on my screen right now. Wait. No, it's not on my screen. I think this is something on the PDF. I thought there was something on my screen over here. Yeah, it's the PDF who has a little bit of a smidge on them. Smudge. The prince must learn how to use the beast in man, or rather the beast, for man is an animal who can be many animals, and he must know how to be a fox as well as a lion. Man will not keep faith with you. How can you keep it with them? Politics, Machiavelli seems to say, as much as consists in breaking promises, where circumstances change and new necessities arrive that make it impossible to hold one's word. Okay. Not really much to go on, yes. The prince must learn how to use the beast in man. To use, yes, like I said, the previous example. On that, not exactly the previous example, but one of the examples that I use. You use bloodthirsty murderers to conquer. And then you murder the murderers, because they become a liability. Now where was I? Yes. Politics, Machiavelli seems to say, as much as consists in breaking promises, for circumstances change and new necessities arise that make it impossible to hold to one word. 3 minutes until the next ad. We're actually 2 hours in. I think I can do 1 hour more. I can't do 4 hours. My throat's not gonna like it. So I'm just gonna make another pause in 2 minutes. Let me take a sip. 10 hours. That's gonna kill me. At the end of 10 hours, you're just gonna hear me. You're just gonna hear me groaning in pain. Or something like that. The only question is, can one get away with breaking one's promise? The only question is, can one get away with breaking one's promises? That is very much the essence of everything. Machiavelli's answer is a confident yes. He broadens the discussion, speaking of 5 moral qualities, especially religion. He says that men judge by appearances, and that when one judges by appearances, one looks to the end. The end is the outcome or the effect, and if a prince wins and maintains a state, the means will always be judged horrible. The ends justify the means. The ends justify the means. That is what. I guess this is one of the ways. This is one of the conclusions from this little passage. But indeed, people will forgive your crimes if in the end you give them something great. People will forgive your sins if the end is something great. Even if it relates to a strict religion. Oh, where was I? He broadens the discussion. The end is the outcome or the effect, and if a prince wins and maintains a state, the means will always be judged horrible. Since Machiavelli has just emphasized the prince's need to appear religious, we may compare the people's attitude towards a successful prince with their belief in divine providence. As people assume that the outcome of the event in the world is determined by God's providence, so they conclude that the means chosen by God cannot have been unworthy. 30 seconds. Machiavelli's thought here is both a subtle attack on the notion of divine providence and a subtle appreciation of it, insofar as the prince appropriate it to his own use. Okay, 20 seconds until ad start. You're gonna have another little break. Take a little stretch and take this time to reflect on what we've learned so far of this introduction of 17 pages. Be right back in 3 minutes. Thank you for the headband, Lapis. Hello, Lapis. Bye, Lapis. It's a ad time. Okay, we're back. Also, continue the music. I mean, music. Yes. Against the Storm. I'm gonna give my little plug. It's a very cool game. It's a very chill game. I love it. I need to play it again, honestly, but unfortunately it's not a game with a lot of story. And also, without really an ending. It can be a bit grindy for you to get all the upgrade or something like that. But I still wanna play one day. But I have been just postponing it until I finish other. There's music? You can't hear it? Or is it too low? You know what? Let me check the audio levels. Let me go back on my stream and because I didn't actually. I hear it. I can. Yeah. There's supposed to be a bit of a music and a rain sound going on. Let me just check my own VOD for a second. I'm gonna mute while I check it. Yeah, I can increase the sound level a little bit. It is a very soothing little soundtrack. I love it. I love this game. But it's unfortunate that is a bit grindy, so I've been trying to play other games, get a few of the series that I want before I lose myself in this one. Anyway, let me take another sip. No. Where was I? Oh, I need to clear my throat. Where was I? Friends may fail you. Is laudable. The yes. This passage. Seems Machiavelli has just emphasized the prince's need of pure religion. We may compare the people's attitude towards a successful prince with their belief in divine providence. We may compare the people's attitude towards a successful prince with their belief in divine providence. I need to change something real quick. We're back. Sorry. So I put on boy shorts because it's hot over here and I'm starting to sweat a little bit, even though there's a fan blowing directly on me. Unfortunately, the weather over here is too humid, so we have trouble actually using things like fans to keep ourselves cool. And I was wearing some big pants, and now I'm just wearing cute little shorts. So imagine my Latino, my nicely round Latino ass being tightly snug by my pants, by my boy shorts. Anyway, moving on. Machiavelli just emphasize the prince's need to appear religious. Oh wait, why is this? This is not. There we go. Now it's highest, largest it should be. Machiavelli has just emphasized the prince's need to appear religious. We may compare the people's attitude towards successful prince with their belief in divine providence. So if a prince is successful, it's basically divine providence, is what they're saying. But if a prince is a ruthless bastard, that kind of says something about divine providence itself. You know, that kind of turns into kind of a joke. As people assume that the outcome of events in the world is determined by God's providence, so they conclude that the means chosen by God cannot have been unworthy. Machiavelli's thought here is both a subtle attack on the notion of divine providence and a subtle appreciation of it, insofar as the prince can appropriate to his own use. Yes, he appreciates the idea of divine providence as long as the prince can use it for his own benefit, like in the previous passages. The ends justify the means, and if you appear to be religious at the end, everything's forgiven. And people claim that it's divine providence because you're a religion's person. Everything's about appearances. You appear to be religious, and you won the fight, and now you're all of your horrible crimes from before, all your ruthlessness will be forgiven. It's all about appearances, and using religion to your own benefit. Now moving on, it's not easy to state exactly what virtue is according to Machiavelli. yeah, I can imagine how hard it will be for him to define virtue itself, because if everything's all about practicality, virtue basically is a meaningless concept to him. Clearly, he does not live virtue as it was in Convenience of the Prince. What? I did not. Clearly, he does not live virtue as it was in the classical or Christian tradition. Definitely not. Nor does he imitate any other writer of his time. Virtue, in his new meaning, seems to be a prudent or well-thought combination of vice and virtue in the old meaning. Virtue, in his new meaning, seems to be a prudent or well-thought combination of vice and virtue in the old meaning. Vice and virtue in the old meaning. Virtue for him is not a mean between two extremes of vice, as is virtue for him is not a mean between two extremes of vice, as it moral virtue for Aristotle. This is an interest. I need to study a little bit of old philosophy, really. Let me add to this list of things to study. Old philosophy books. Studying philosophy helps a lot with learning or improving your understanding of certain texts, really. So it's kind of like a good thing to have when you're studying academia, because a lot of things are spoken in broad and abstract ways, and philosophy helps you better understand it. It gives you a better face to understand more abstract ways of thinking. Now, where was I? Moral virtue for Aristoteles. That we have seen in chapter 15, 11 virtues, the same number as Aristoteles, though none of them are the same virtues, are paired with 11 vices. From this, we might conclude that virtue does not shine of itself as when it is done for its own sake. Rather, virtue is as it takes effect. Its truth is its effectual truth. And it is effectual only when it's seen in contrast to its opposite. Well, now that is a sentence, a full sentence, then I have no fucking idea what's going on about here. Like I said, I'm not a philosopher, and it'll actually be helpful if I could understand philosophy, so I can do this sort of abstract and confusing way of thinking. Just gonna move on and see if I can understand it later. Liberality in the way of generosity, I guess. Liberality, mercy, and love are impressive only when one expects stinginess or rapacity, cruelty, and fear. Let me take a sip. This contrast makes virtue apparent and enables the prince to gain a reputation for virtue. If this is so, then the new meaning Machiavelli gives to virtue, a meaning which makes use of vice, must not entirely replace but somehow continue to coexist with the old meaning according to which virtue is shocked by vice. A meaning which makes use of vice must not entirely replace not entirely replaced, but somehow continue to coexist with the old meaning according to which virtue is shocked by vice. Okay. Virtue makes use of vice, virtue is shocked by vice. I guess the old meaning is that virtue is opposite to vice, but now in Machiavelli's, virtue is used by vice. Not exactly sure how that works in practice. A third quality of the new prince is that he must make his own foundations. Although to be acquisitive or conquerors, acquisitive is used as conquerors over here in this context in this book. Although to be acquisitive means to be acquisitive for oneself, the prince cannot do everything with his own hands. He needs help from others. But in seeking help, he must take account of the two diverse humors to be found in every city. The people, humors. I think it's the old way of humors in the olden ways where humans were like resources. Like say there were like 5 humors or something like that, and it's like it's kind of like health points or mana, pools of humors or something like that, but in an antiquated way. So yes, there's 2 humors, there's 2 resource pools or something like that in every city. The people who desire not to be commanded or oppressed by the great, and the great who desire to command and oppress the people. Of these 2 humors, the prince should choose the people. The people are easier to satisfy, too inert to move against him, and too numerous to kill, whereas the great regard themselves as his equals, are ready and able to conspire against him, and are irreplaceable. Yep. Yeah, I don't really have much to add. It's just basically that. Yeah. It's focus on always be wary of the people who are in power, because they have the power to actually put you down. The people who brought you up can bring you down. The people who have the keys, be aware of the. I've seen this in another video about politics. Be aware of the people who hold the keys to your territory, your generals, your ministers, all the people who have power and can disrupt you or bring you down. Always be aware of them. The prince then should ally with the people against the aristocracy. But how should he get their support? Machiavelli gives an example in the conduct of Cesare Borgia, whom he praises for the foundation he laid. The prince then should ally with the people against the aristocracy. I think this is a theme that I have seen a lot in certain... Not exactly a lot. I think I've seen often in certain stories. Because yeah, the nobility, they do manage things, they do keep things under relative control, but they also can team up together and make your life hell. So there's always a sort of combative stance, adversarial. No, not adversarial. There's always a sort of antagonistic, I guess, antagonistic relationship between the nobles and the king and the royals. To the point where it's pretty much like 2 clear political parties. I've seen many novels like say loyalists and nobles and royals and nobles, things like that. Like it's a good way to create a conflict within a society itself. Now, unfortunately, I lost myself exactly where I was. Replaceable, I think it was here. The prince then should ally with the people against the aristocracy. But how should he get their support? Machiavelli. Oh yes, Cesare Borgia. Okay, it's this page. When Cesare had conquered the province of Romagna, I'm butchering the pronunciation. I'm sorry, but also I'm not sorry because I'm not even gonna bother searching for the correct pronunciation. He installed Ramiro de Orco. An orc? Actually a Spaniard, Don Ramiro de Lorca, to carry out a purge of the unruly lords there. Then, because Caesar thought Ramiro's authority might be excessive, Then, because Caesar thought Ramiro's authority might be excessive, and his exercise of it might become hateful, in short, because Ramiro had served his purpose, he purged the purger, and one day had Ramiro displayed in the Piazza at Cesana in 2 pieces. Yes, it's what I have been talking about. You use people to cause violence, but these people are violent, so you need to dispose of them before they use violence against you. The spectacle left the people at once satisfied and stupefied, and Caesar set up a more constitutional government in Romagna. The lesson: constitutional government is possible, but only after an unconstitutional beginning. Yeah, the people, you, like I said, you make people fear. You use cruelty once, so people fear you, but then you go and give them a reason to not you give them a way out. You give them a reason to actually love you, because you clean house, you show that you can be cruel, but then you give them an out. Yes, constitutional government now. And now that the violence has been done, we're gonna be lawful again. Just don't make me mad. Just don't make me mad. That's pretty much the giving an example to the people. The stereotype of making an example of someone, give an example to the people. Now, moving on, in chapter 9, Machiavelli discusses the civil principality, which is gained through the favor of the people, and gives as example Nabis, prince of the Spartans, whom he calls a tyrant in Discourses of Livy because of the crimes Nabis committed against his rivals. In chapter 8, Machiavelli considers the principality that is attained through crimes and cities Agathocles and Oliverotto, both of whom were very popular despite their crimes. So not much to go on this passage. As one ponders these 2 chapters, it becomes more and more difficult to find the difference between gaining a principality through crimes and through the favor of the people. As one ponders these 2 chapters, it becomes more and more difficult to find the difference between gaining a principality through crimes and through the favor of the people. What a curious thing. Hard to discern the difference between a principality created through crime and another through favor. Surely Caesar Borgia, Agathocles, and Nabis seems to have followed the same policy of pleasing the people by cutting up the great. Finally, in chapter 19, Machiavelli reveals that the prince need not to have the support of the people after all. Okay, yes. Talk about, yes, you need the support of the people to fight against the great, but you don't really need the support of the people after all, even if he is hated by the people, since in fact he cannot fail to be hated by someone. Well, I don't exactly understand that. He can, like the Roman Emperor Severus, make his foundation with his soldiers. See also chapter 20. Severus had such virtue, Machiavelli says, with an unobtrusive comparison to Caesar Borgia in chapter 7, that he stupefied the people and satisfies the soldiers. Fourth, the new prince has his own arms and does not need to rely on mercenary or auxiliary armies. Machiavelli omits a discussion of the laws the prince should establish in contrast to the tradition of political science, because he says there cannot be good laws where there are not good arms, and where there are good arms there must be good laws. Good arms. What does he mean by good arms? Soldiers? Good soldiers? And soldiers are not good arms, and mercenaries are not good arms. So no good laws where all you have are mercenaries. He speaks of the prince's arms in chapter 12 to 14, and in chapter 14 he proclaims that the prince should have no other object of thought but the art of war. Whoa! He proclaims that the prince should have no other object or thought but the art of war. He must be armed, since it's quite unreasonable for one who is armed to obey one who is unarmed. With a short remark, Machiavelli seems to dismiss the fundamental principle of classical political science, the rule of the wise, not to mention the Christian promise that the meek shall inherit the earth. Okay, he must be armed, since it's quite reasonable for one who is armed to obey one who is unarmed. Yeah, I guess might makes right. With a short remark, Machiavelli seems to dismiss the fundamental principle of classical political science, the rule of the wise, not to mention the Christian promise that the meek shall inherit the earth. Well, the rule of the wise, yes. Wise men, you let them rule you because you respect their opinions, because you think that they are correct. It feels noble, rule of the wise, but I think Machiavelli is maybe thinking that it's misguided. Because it kind of because he has a cynical view of wisdom and wise people and the morality of people. So even he will not actually appreciate a moral or intelligent wise man, because he has no belief in the people. Kinda losing myself in this thought. Slowly my mind melts along with my throat, which constantly itches now. But yes, let's actually just move on, because I'm not able to make a proper concise point on this tangent. Now, next paragraph. Machiavelli does not mean that... Let me sit straight, actually. I'm getting a bit shrimp over here. Machiavelli does not mean that those with the most bodily force always win, for he broadens the art of war to include the acquisition as well as the use of arms. A prince who has no army but has the art of war will prevail over one with an army without the art of war. A prince who has no army but has the art of war will prevail over one with an army without the art of war. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. You can still win a war without actually fighting if you're cunning enough. Thus, to be armed means to know the art of war, to exercise in the time of peace, and to have read histories about great captains of the past. Thus, to be armed means to know the art of war, to exercise it in time of peace. I guess I kind of agree with this part. Even when you're at peace, you're still at war with the people who were still at the quote-unquote war, not traditional war, but you're still having a sort of a contest, power contest, small power contest. Constantly have small power contests with the people around you. So you can lose a war even before any sword is drawn or any gun is fired. Thus, to be armed means to know the... Oh, I already read this one. In this regard, Machiavelli mentions Xenophon's Life of Cyrus, as he calls it, actually the education of Cyrus, the first and best work in the literature of Mirrors of Princes, to which the prince belongs. Meaningless passage, but he calls it a history, not a mirror of princes, and says that he inspired the Roman general Scipio. I remember this name from I think from Total War, Scipio. And it says that he inspired the Roman general Scipio, whom he criticized in chapter 17 for excessive mercy. Not books of imaginary republics of principalities or treatises on law, but histories of war and recommended reading for the prince. Yeah, this is actually interesting. This is actually good. Study actual history, not just imaginary republics and principalities or treatises or idealistic notions. Study actual history and what happened. Extremely realistic, extremely pragmatic. Last, the new prince with his own arms and his own master. Oh, wait, what? Last, the new prince with his own arms is his own master. The deeper meaning of Machiavelli's slogan, one's own arms, is religious, or rather anti-religious. If man is obligated to God as his creature, then man's own necessities are subordinate to even irrelevant to his most pressing duties. It does not matter if he could not afford justice. God commands it. Thus, Machiavelli must look at the new prince, who is also a prophet, above all at Moses. Moses was a mere executor of things that had been ordered for him by God. Hence, he should be admired for the grace that made him worthy of speaking with God. Or should be said, as Machiavelli says in chapter 26, that Moses had virtue, the virtue that makes a prince dependent on no one but himself. In chapter 13, Machiavelli retells the biblical story of David and Goliath to illustrate the necessities of one's own arms. When Saul offered his arms to David, David refused them, saying, according to Machiavelli, that with them he could not give a good account of himself, and according to the Bible, that the Lord would deliver me out of the hand of the Philistine. Machiavelli also gives David a knife to go with his sling, the knife which, according to the Bible, he took from the fallen Goliath and used to cut off his head. Yeah, not really much to say about this passage. Must the new prince, the truly new prince, then be his own prophet and make a new religion so as to be his own master? Ooh, make a new religion so as to be his own master. The great power of religion can be seen in what Moses and David founded, and in what Savonarola nearly accomplished in Machiavelli's own time and city. The unarmed prince, whom he disparages in chapter 6, actually disposes of formidable weapons necessary to the art of war. The unarmed prophet becomes armed if he uses religion for his own purpose rather than God's, and because the prince cannot acquire glory from himself without bringing order to his principality, using religion for himself is using it to an answer. Using religion for himself is using it to answer human necessities generally. Yeah, same things that I have said before. Use religion only for your own goals. The last 3 chapters of The Prince take up the question of how far man can take his own world, what are the limits set on Machiavelli's political science, or the art of war by fortune. At the end of chapter 24, he blames these princes of ours who accuse fortune for their troubles and not their own indolence. In quiet times, they do not take account of the storm to come, but they should, they can. In quiet times, they do not take account of the storm to come, but they should, they can. That's an important passage. People not seeing the storm coming, or people getting too comfortable in their own seats, and then they get backstabbed, or decapitated, or assassinated. They believe that the people will be disgusted by the arrogance of the foreign conquerors and will call them back. They believe that the people will be disgusted by the arrogance of the foreign conquerors and will call them back. Yeah, but you're relying on someone else making a mistake. Oh, your last 2 pages. Jesus Christ! Finally, you're relying on the conqueror being a bad person. But if the conqueror is kind of smart, he's gonna use all of his tools to mess with his own perception, and by then, and after you've lost everything, you actually be a lot hard to gather your back if you're not being executed already. So don't rely on your enemy making a mistake, but you let them continue making a mistake. Do not interrupt them if they are making one. Now moving on. But one should never fail in the belief you can find someone to pick you up, whether successful or not. Such a defense is base because it does not depend on you and your virtue. What? But one should never fail in the belief you can find someone to pick you up. What the fuck is this? One should never fall in the belief you can find someone to pick you up. Okay, you should never actually fall into the belief you never let yourself believe that someone else will come to save you. I guess this is the meaning of this. Whether successful or not, such a defense is base because it does not depend on you and your virtue. Yeah, I guess this is kind of what they're saying. You're depending on... Because you're depending on your enemy makes a mistake. It not depends on you. So always be prepared. Don't actually count on your enemy making a mistake and being incompetent at managing your territory after he conquers it. With this high promise of human capability, Machiavelli introduces his famous chapter 25 on fortune. He begins by asking how much of the world is governed by fortune and God, and how much by man. He then supposes that half is governed by fortune, forgetting God, half of this is luck, half of the world is governed by luck, not God, and half by men, and he compares fortune to a violent river that can be contained with dikes and dams. Yeah, very apt description. Governing things relates to luck, but you can actually make preparations in safeties in case your luck goes bad. Turning to particular men, he shows that difficulty in containing fortune lies in the ability of one who is impetuous to succeed in quiet times, or of one who is cautious to succeed in stormy times. Hold up. He shows that difficulty in containing fortune lies in the inability of one who is impetuous to succeed in quiet times, or of one who is cautious to succeed in stormy times. Oh, yes. Someone who's bold will have trouble with peace. Someone who is cautious will have trouble in war. Men with their fixed natures and habits do not vary as the times vary. Men with their fixed natures and habits do not vary as the times vary, and so they fall under the control of the times of fortune. Yes, a person's nature and a person's habits, person's personalities do not change with time, so they become victim to fate, victim to luck. Men's fixed natures are the special problem Machiavelli indicates. So the problem of overcoming the influence of fortune reduces to the problem of overcoming the fixity of different human natures. Okay, since people's personalities doesn't change, the problem with dealing with luck is managing the different people. Using the right person for the right job, I would say. Having a fixed nature is what makes one liable to changes of fortune. Pope Julius II succeeded because the times were in accord with his impetuous nature. If he had lived longer, he would have come to grief. Machiavelli blames him for his inflexibility, and so implies that neither he nor the rest of us need to respect the natures or natural inculcations we have been given. Yeah, I've seen this being said before by other let's say videos about politics that I've read. That one is about World War II, where before World War II there was a cautious president, I guess prime minister in Britain. He was trying to, things were kind of dicey with Hitler starting to conquer Poland or something like that, and he was being very cautious with the very cautious with the relationship, trying not to lean too hard on war or something like that. But I think that once I think it was when Peter actually conquered Poland, everyone started to go, no, now it's the time. He fucked up. He that was too far. But the prime minister at the time did not was still too cautious, so they got replaced. He actually got replaced by, I think, Churchill, who went all in on war, something like that. I don't remember the exact details. So yes, the right person for the right job. Sometimes in peace you need someone cautious, but when things fail, you actually need someone who's actually bold enough to do what needs to be done. That's the main taking of this. That's my main understanding of this passage. What is the new meaning of virtue that Machiavelli has developed? But flexibility. What is the new meaning of virtue that Machiavelli has developed? But flexibility according to the times of situation. Yet, though one should learn to be both impetuous and cautious, these stand for all the others contrary qualities. On the whole, one should be impetuous. Okay, I guess it's if you need to be cautious or impetuous. If you need to be cautious or bold, be bold. Fortune is a woman who lets herself be won more by the impetuous than by those who proceed coldly. Okay, that is a statement. But yes, fortune favors the bold. That is another quote that's famous that I've read a lot on Call of Duty games. When you die, the game gives you a few quote unquote deep quotes, and this is one of the ones that appears a lot. Fortune favors the bold. Yeah, Fortune is a woman possessed coldly. Hence, she is a friend of the young. He makes the yes. I was gonna say a lot about young being more young rulers being more in favor of change, so they bring more prosperity than old rulers who don't want to change their ways and things like that. But that's a bit of a parallel topic. I'll just move on. He makes the politics of the new prince appear in the image of rape. What the fuck? Impetuous himself, Machiavelli forces us to see the question he has raised about the status of morality. Whether he says what he appears to say about the status of woman may be doubted. However, whether he says what he appears to say about the status of woman may be doubted. However, yeah, the young men who master Lady Fortune come with audacity and leave exhausted, but she remains ageless, waiting for the next ones. One might go so far as to wonder who is raping whom, cautiously, as it were, and whether Machiavelli, who has personified Fortune, can impersonate her in the world of modern politics he attempted to create. Okay, that's the introduction. A note on translation. 2 hours and 40 minutes only to read the intro to this book. We are at page 24 of 140. This will be long. This will be fun. Notes on translation. I don't think I need to read this. I'll read this off stream. See if there's anything. Oh, a map. Nice, a map. Can I zoom? Oh no. Can I zoom on it? Good work. It's interesting so far. Thank you, Tornkite. I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot. It's like a very testy stream. So let me actually increase the size of this. Okay, moving this is kind of annoying, but I like maps, especially old maps. I'm basically, the stream is basically just me going up and trying to come up with things to talk after every passage. So it is very experimental for me, as you should be able to notice. I'm not the most extroverted patient out there, so I'm basically just going a bit crazy on my own nerdiness. And see if something good comes out. I like that you keep commenting what you read. Yes, thank you. Also, I like doing these comments. This is one of the things that it feels kind of weird to say this, but I think I can give some good nerdy commentary because of my experience writing and I have a lot of what do you call, tidbits of knowledge from my nerdy forays into every sort of topic. So I think I do have some interesting commentary to say on these things, which is why I started doing this book reading myself. Yeah, actually, I need to make a little pause. I drank too much water, and now I need to do a pause. I will leave you guys with this little map over here, and I'll do a quick bathroom break. There's like 17 minutes until ads, but I drank too much water. I need a bio break. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. I'm starting to get a bit sick of drinking so much water though. I'm on my second cup. Yeah, I'm almost finished my cup. I started to but I kinda need to drink a lot of water because otherwise my throat starts itching a lot. That was fast. Indeed. uh, I was gonna make my joke about I piss like a charge rifle, but it's better not to go that way. I'm not into that sort of stuff, that sort of lewdness. But I think the battery is right next to my room, so not really a lot of walking. Now, maps. I like maps. I'm not exactly a map person. Let me actually zoom out. I'm not exactly a map person who plays like those map games. I can't exactly. Oh, there it is. Plays. I want more control over the zoom. What the fuck? Oh, plays map games. I do plan on playing something like Victoria one day. But because they're not really like games that you finish that have a beginning and an end, you just go multiple playthroughs and things like that. I might take a while before I play one. It's on my list. One day I'll play a game like that, but it'll be a while. I do enjoy maps. I do enjoy reading about little places, geography. It's just pleasant. It just feels nice to see a map and imagine all these places. Adriatic Sea, reading out the names of seas and things. You can always play scenarios. Ah. Okay, yes. Actually, let's add a different let's add a scenario to my queue. Map game scenario. Like on my sacrifice game playthrough, I finish one god. I will still play the other gods. It's just a down on my queue. Like when am I gonna play sacrifice again? Yeah, I'm gonna play Myth 1 after Warcraft 3, and then I'll play another campaign of Sacrifice, and then I'll play Warcraft 3. So I can add a map game scenario campaign somewhere. It's gonna take a while. I have way too many strategy games I wanna play. I like reading things like names of seas and things like that. Calabria, names of random regions, things like that. It's always fun to know. Oh, I think. Where is this? Florence. Oh, this is France. Okay, this is the sea, this is the land. Florence is France. That little corner, I guess, is over here, France? Pisa? Wait, Pisa? Where's Florence? Florence. Why you... Oh, it's in Italy, actually, Florence. Where is that corner? Florence, Alabama. No. Why are there so many cities called Florence? Wait, Wiki, where's... God damn it, sometimes Wiki's annoying. Because it defaults to Portuguese, to Brazilian Wiki. So it's not as good as... Oh, it's a river. This thing is a river. Not a... It felt like this was the sea or something like that. I thought Florence was a French name. But no, it's in the middle of a... Oh, over here. Found it. Yeah, this square was over here. This square is this far. Ravenna. Lombardy. Yes, I like these. Maps are so weird. It's so weird why maps are so good. Same, I can spend hours on map. Yeah, when I didn't have Google Maps, I used to look into those books from school and look into maps and just memorize every single detail of them. They just make me feel good for some reason. I'm not sure. It's autumn. It's autumn, but it just makes me feel good looking at maps. Like some people like seeing trains. I like seeing maps. Italy in Machiavelli's time. Okay. Dedicatory letter. Okay, let's read the dedicatory letter. Niccolò Machiavelli to the magnificent Lorenzo de' Medici, which was a prince himself. It is customary most of the time for those who desire to acquire favor with a prince to come to meet him with things that they care most for among their own, or with things that they see please him most. Okay, kinda gloss over this whole passage. It's customary for those desire to acquire favor to prince to come to meet him with things that they care most for among their own, or with things that they see please him most. Okay, bringing gifts. It's customary to meet a prince and bringing gifts. That's the essence of those fucking 4 lines. Thus, one sees them many times being presented with horses, arms, cloth of gold, precious stones, and similar ornaments worthy of their greatness. Thus, since I desire to offer myself to your magnificence with some testimony of my homage to you, I have found nothing in my belongings that I care so much for, esteem so greatly, as the knowledge of actions of great men, learned by me from long experience with modern things and a continuous reading of ancient ones. Having thought out and examined these things with great diligence for a long time, and now reduced them to one small volume, I send it to your magnificence. Although I judge this work undeserving of your presence, yet I have much confidence that through your humanity it may be accepted, considering that no greater gift could be made by me than to give you the capacity to be able to understand in a very short time all that I have learned. Acquire grace, acquires economic term, then Niccolò Machiavelli often uses to refer to a non-economic gain, especially conquest. Here, to the favor or grace that will seem to be in gift of an audience, of a prince. Machiavelli switches from a singular to the plural, a device he uses frequently. Where was this too? Thus, once is there. Okay. Lorenzo de' Medici, grandson of Lorenzo the Magnificent. He became Duke of Urbino in 1516. How do you actually say that? 1998? No. 1516 feels awkward here. 1516? Guess that's how you Americans say it. Niccolò Machiavelli had at first intended to dedicate the prince to Giuliano de' Medici, son of Lorenzo the Magnificent and Duke of Nemours, who died in 1516. See, Niccolò Machiavelli's letter to Servitude, a feudal term of submission, elsewhere to be translated as servitude. Where was this one? 4? Of my homage to you. Okay, homage. Next. Come on. Next page. Next page. Oh shit, this is not end over here. Considering that no greater gift could be made by me than to give you the capacity to be able to understand in a very short time all that I have learned and understood in so many years and with so many hardships and dangers for myself. I have not ornamented this work, nor filled it with fulsome phrases, nor with pompous and magnificent words, nor with any blandishment or superfluous ornament whatsoever. Yeah, you're pretty much right to the point and pretty brutal with the point with which it is customary for men to describe and adorn their things, for I wanted it either not to be honored for anything or to please solely for the variety of the time and the gravity of the subject. Nor do I want it to be reputed presumption if a man from a low and mean state dares to discuss and give rules for the government of princes. For just as those who sketch landscapes place themselves down in the plain to consider the nature of mountains and high places, and to consider the nature of low places, place themselves high atop mountains. Jesus, that is a long-winded phrase. Similarly, to know well the nature of peoples, one needs to be prince, and to know well the nature of princes, one needs to be of the people. To know well the nature, one needs to be prince, and to know well the nature of princes, one needs to be of the people. Let me actually reread this one. For just as those who sketch landscapes place themselves down in the plain to consider the nature of mountains and high places, and to consider the nature of low places, place themselves high atop mountains, similarly. Oh, okay, yes. Different perspective. That's what it means. You're gonna sketch a mountain, you go under the mountain, you go below the mountain, and far away, you go on the plains. You wanna sketch the plains, you go high up on the mountain, so you can look down and observe them from afar, from a different perspective. That's the meaning of this passage. Therefore, your magnificence, take this small gift in the spirit. Animal refers to the spirit with which humans being Human beings defend themselves, never to a capacity for self-detachment. Animal soul does not occur in the person. It can also mean mind in the sense of intent, but not in the sense of intellect. I don't think I actually need to read these little things over here. It feels like they're just distracting. Therefore, your magnificent, take the small gift in the spirit with which I send it. Yeah, I think the word used to translate it is good enough. It's just curious little. These little footnotes are just curious little translation quirks, I guess, that he put on. Not exactly needed to actually understand things. If your magnificence considers and reads it diligently, you learn from it my extreme desire that you arrive at the greatness that fortune and your other qualities promise you. And if your magnificence will at some time turn your eyes from the summit of your height to these low places, you learn how undeservedly I endure a great and continuous malignity of fortune. What? And if your magnificence will at some time turn your eyes from the summit of your height to these low places, you learn how undeservedly I endure a great and continuous malignity of fortune. Yeah, basically saying, poor me, I do not deserve this bad luck. If you're gonna look down on me, like how humble he is, how humble he is. Suck. Thank you for the suck, Niue. Thank you for the suck. We always appreciate it. We always appreciate a little bit of sucking to go along with our studying and learning. Can I switch pages? Thank you. Because that is the carrot to the stick. And I do not mean that in a lewd way. And I do mean that in a lewd way. Of principalities. Now we finally start. Now we finally start the book proper. But I'm reached 3 hours. And I think I'm gonna end it. Before my throat start to give up. Like I still have a collab tomorrow and another stream Sunday. So I don't want to strain my voice cords right now. Just one last sip. As in 3 minutes, I'm just gonna share a few thoughts. Honestly, I'm gonna end it here. Really, I'll definitely continue this later. I'll actually close this. No, don't save alteration. I'm gonna actually finish this. Continue this later. Let me lower the volume of other things. I'll check my sound levels. Yeah, stopping the rain. I'll check my sound levels to see how 3 hours of reading is really good. Hard work. Indeed, it's very straining for my vocal cords. I can't actually do this for 4 hours like my whole streams. I feel like it'll be dangerous for my vocal cords to do this because I'm keeping my voice low, trying to be gentle, trying to be a bit more ASMR like. But now I'll watch this one again to see how the sound works, how things goes. I'm looking at my OBS and I think that my microphone voice levels sometimes they hit the red. I think that's kind of bad. I can adjust my mic levels a bit better, I think, so that my voice becomes a little bit more easy pronounceable. Because if you hit the red, your song gets compressed and that loses quality. So there's still some improvements that I can make. I did not practice this beforehand or watch my own stream, so I have no idea how it was for you guys. But I am an ASMR enthusiast, so I want to make it more pleasant, more ASMR like. I just don't think I'm exactly like say Ruad, who has a very good voice for that. So that's why I said it's just gonna be a chill, just chatting stream. But I'll definitely continue this later. I definitely want to read more of this book. It gives an interesting perspective about stuff, even though some of it is not exactly like groundbreaking or deep deep dives into politics and things like that. It still gives a refreshing. It still refreshes your mind and makes you more. It gives you a better base, a more solid foundation for knowledge. And I think that's a good thing for my writing. I think it has been a productive use of my time to improve my writing little by little. I'm just concerned with how long it's gonna actually take me to finish this book, because there's a ton of topics. Every stream I keep adding books, like Let me see. Lord, no, Alice. No, that's not exactly useful for writing. Lesser Key of Solomon is also not writing, not useful. But I want to look into Sun Tzu. I want to look more books about medieval politics, maybe medieval or mercantilism. Mercantilism. Let me actually read. So like two more books. Maybe some books about religion. Maybe a book about medieval guilds. Maybe a book about trade. A focused government system. About a feudal system. About nostalgia. About climate and latitudes, a book about comedy, and some other philosophical books like Plato's Republic, St. Augustine, City of God, another book made by Plato or Aristotle, things like that. So there's a shit ton of books, and I'm concerned how long it'll take to actually reasonably help me get through this. How reasonable will take for me to get through this, because the point of these things is actually improve my writing. So I need to do this at a reasonable time, not in years. I need something like months, but we'll see how it goes. It's fun anyway. I would not read this book if I wasn't doing the stream. That's why exactly that's one of the reasons that I also made the stream, because I likely would not be able to read or study The Prince like this if I wasn't streaming, because I enjoy streaming, I enjoy reading, I enjoy sharing my thoughts. So it was a lot more engaging and a rewarding experience than reading by myself in silence. Let me see. I think that's pretty much it on my final thoughts on the stream. I'll schedule another for next Friday. Unfortunately, Friday is like my collab game. I go to collab day, so I'm not sure. I may not exact. No, I don't think I have anything planned for next Friday. Yeah, next Friday is pretty much safe, a continuation for this book. I had planned on 2 hours, but 3 hours seems like a good time. Now let's look for someone to raid, because I wanna rest my vocal cords now. I'm gonna keep without saying a word until tomorrow, so I can rest. Tomorrow will be World at War collab with Buncombe and Ainsley. And then Sunday will be Warcraft 3. Oh yeah, there's Daya doing a... Wait, is Cat still online? Cats. No, she's logged off already. She was doing a celebration, okay. I raided Daya yesterday. I wanna try to raid someone different right now. Oh, there's Gurum VT. He's a new streamer. I haven't seen him stream much. So let's just give him a raid right now. He's playing Fallout New Vegas. We're gonna go from a sleepy little reading stream to actual some gaming. And New Vegas, I think, is a very good game. It's one of the good Fallout games with made by Obsidian, I think, or something like that. It has good storytelling, very good storytelling. Now that's pretty much it. Take care of your waifus. Take care of your husbandos. Let me put the raid message before I forget. And see you guys tomorrow, same time. Same time as I start the stream. And for the people who gave head pats and kisses to Grammary, good luck. She's gonna start milking now, and she's feeling very feisty. Bye bye.